Let's talk about something you've probably felt, but maybe couldn't quite put your finger on. You know that feeling that your online feed isn't just showing you what you like, it's kind of changing what you think? Have you ever found yourself going down one of those algorithmic rabbit holes, right? You click on one video and suddenly it's an hour later and you're deep into some topic you never ever planned to explore. It really makes you wonder, is your feed just responding to you or is it actively rewriting your interests? Well, it turns out there's a name for this. Researchers are calling it cognitive drift. Just think of it like this. It's the slow, almost invisible buildup of effect from these AI-curated exposure paths. It's not one big sudden change, but a really gradual resetting of your entire mental baseline, all shaped by the constant stream of content you see day in and day out. And that's really the heart of the issue here, because this drift is so slow, so gradual, it basically acts like an invisible force. It's just happening quietly in the background while we scroll, which makes it incredibly hard to even notice, let alone do anything about. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Isn't this just the filter bubble? And that's a fair question, but there's a really important difference. A filter bubble, that's mostly driven by your choices. You click on stuff you like, the algorithm sees that, and it shows you more of the same. You are literally creating your own bubble. Cognitive drift? That's different. It's driven by the very architecture of the algorithm. The path itself is designed to guide you, to sort of reprioritize what you see. So instead of you making the bubble, the path is actually shaping you. That leads to the huge challenge that got this whole research project started. I mean, if this force is invisible, if you can't see it or put a number on it, how in the world are you supposed to manage it? How can we expect platforms to be responsible for something they can't even measure? So, to solve this puzzle, researchers realized they needed to make the invisible visible. They set out to build what you could basically call a drift detector. And that's exactly what a team from the University of Zurich and Shenzhen University did. They developed this really groundbreaking scientific protocol called the Cognitive Drift Index, or CDI for short. It's pretty much the first tool of its kind that can actually measure this invisible force, giving us a clear reading on just how much our thinking is being guided. So how does this thing actually work? Well, it's not just looking for one thing. It's smarter than that. You can think of it like a control panel that's monitoring three key signals at the same time to get the complete picture. And those three signals are emotional drift, tag homogeneity, and selective salience. By tracking all three of these together, the CDI can paint a really clear picture of the kind of algorithmic pressure that's being applied to a user's feed. Okay, let's break these down, because this is where it gets super interesting. First up is emotional drift. This just tracks the changing mood of your feed. Is it getting happier, angrier, more intense? Then you've got tag homogeneity. This measures if all the content you're seeing is getting more and more similar, creating what the researchers call an informational monoculture. And finally, there's selective salience. This one shows how the algorithm starts to narrow its, quote, cognitive spotlight, basically forcing your attention onto fewer and fewer topics over time. Okay, so a detector is only useful if it actually works, right? So the researchers took their brand new cognitive drift index and put it to the test on a ton of data from a popular short video app, focusing specifically on health-related content. They set up this really clever experiment comparing the different ways we all find content online. So on one side, you have active search. That's where you are the driver. You type in what you're looking for, you look at the results, you click. Simple. On the other extreme, you have pure recommendation. Here, the algorithm is the driver. You don't search for a thing, you just get a perfectly curated stream of content served right to you. So what happened when they measured the cognitive drift for these different paths? The results were, well, just stunningly clear. You can actually see this perfect staircase effect. Active search, where you have the most control, had the lowest cognitive drift. No surprise there. In the middle was a kind of hybrid path. But pure recommendation, where the algorithm is completely in charge, that generated the highest CDI score by a long shot. The bottom line is this. The less control you have over what you're seeing, the stronger the cognitive drift. It means that when we just passively scroll through whatever the algorithm decides to show us, that's when our mental baseline is shifting the most dramatically. So this is way more than just a cool finding for a research paper. It's a practical tool. Now that we can actually measure cognitive drift, we can finally start to manage it. This opens up a whole new world of possibilities for responsible AI, and for us to start reclaiming our own attention. Let's look at how this could actually work. The researchers even mapped out how specific CDI scores could trigger specific actions. So let's say a feed's drift score hits a medium level. Bam! The platform could automatically show you a little "why am I seeing this" prompt. If it gets high, the system could start injecting more diverse content into your feed. And if it gets really, really high, it could even apply what they call effect guards to just cool down a feed that's getting way too intense or emotional. The takeaway here is absolutely huge. For the first time, this gives platforms a real toolkit for responsible AI. They can finally audit their own systems for cognitive drift, which was impossible before. They can roll out smart, targeted responses instead of just guessing. It literally transforms cognitive drift from this vague, kind of spooky problem into something specific and, most importantly, manageable. And all of this leads us to one last and maybe the most important question of all. Now that we can measure this invisible force, whose job is it to manage it? Is it up to the platforms to police themselves? Should regulators and governments step in? Or does some of that responsibility fall on us, the people actually using these platforms, to just be more aware of how we're being guided? Definitely something to think about.